We're going to talk mobile payments, and especially about the implementation strategy. And before I do that, let's look at the evolution of card payments. In the old days, we had cards, embossing, etc., max stripe. We need to have security. And then we moved on to, let's say, the EMV cards as you know it today, right? Then there was a kind of a sidestep where contactless cards moved in as well. Wasn't really a success, let's be honest. Contactless cards, they're out there. But the funny thing is, it's based on contactless technology. The disadvantage, however, of contactless cards, it's convenient, it's a fast check-in and check-out. However, if we bring that to the next phase and put a contactless card in a mobile phone, we have an additional feature, an interface, a GUI if you like, based on that same technology. So what you see right now globally is a trend that all the issuers or service providers or banks if you like, they have the intention to put, let's say, their cards in a mobile phone. Okay? For obvious reasons. Now let's see what it takes to do this. And actually, if you look at it, most of the banks, they already have applications on mobile phones. Are there any banks here in this audience? Do you have a mobile banking app already? Most banks have. So actually, mobile banking is not a new thing. It's there already for years. I can even remember a story 5 or 6 years back when Bank of America launched their mobile banking app. Actually, and they said it themselves, it wasn't the best app. I think they had only 1-star rating or something, which is pretty much a poor app. It was the most successful app for a while in the App Store. People loved it. They adopted this app and they could see their, let's say, their balances, their transaction history, etc. There's only one thing we're missing in this app. It says on the slide, retail payments. With retail payments, what I mean is the ability to take your phone, we want to put this banking app in it, and make transactions in a retail environment. Or if you like, if you take the Knoll card here in Dubai, suppose you would take the Knoll card based on contactless technology, you put it in a phone, wouldn't it be easy to use that here for public transport? Check in, check out, see your balance, maybe even top up the value on your phone. It's very convenient, right? You could do it at any time, at any place. For the sake of this presentation, I'd like to focus more on payments and not on ticketing or loyalty or access control or other, let's say, initiatives you see moving towards this phone. What I'm talking about is on one hand side having a bank application with the ability to make proximity transactions. Okay? That means actually that if we take a current payment card, we're going to put that in a mobile phone. Okay? Now what do we need for this? If you look at the current card, it consists of plastic, of branding. Sure, there's a chip, there's an operating system, there's an application on it. I think most of you know that on a payment card there's an application, your perso data. And let's now put this in a mobile phone. So actually all the things we have on the card, we now also need on that mobile phone. Right? Do we have a chip in the mobile phone? Sure, there's a SIM, right? There's plenty of chips in the phone. But is that secure enough? Don't think so. Does this phone have, like a card, an interface to communicate with a point of sale? A contact interface for sure is not possible. I mean, you can't put your phone in an ATM. You can't put your phone in a point of sale. So let's use that contactless interface. Okay? Do you have that on your phone today? Probably not. And that's NFC, what we're talking about. NFC is the equivalent of the interface between a phone and a reader, in this case a point of sale. So we're missing a lot of things. The third component is, you have a phone probably in your pocket, and now suppose you want to have that payment application. How does it get there? Do you drive to your bank, the branch office, give them your phone and say, please put the payment application on it? No, the people in the branch probably don't know how that works. Probably not even a secure environment. They're not equipped to do that. Well, we have a solution for that. Let's do that over the air. Over the air means that you have your mobile phone and you activate your app and you say, I'd like to have that payment product, that card if you like, I'd like to have that on my mobile phone. That means that in the back office a process starts and your bank says, okay, I will put this product now on your phone. But how does the bank know what phone it is? How does the bank know that it works? How do you make that secure? So again, the secure element, the NFC interface, but also what we call the provisioning. let's say, the channel to get that product all the way down to your phone. These are things we don't have today. We need to develop that. Or actually, you need to develop that. There's one thing I really like to focus on. There's a lot of people who are talking about NFC this and NFC that. NFC in general is a buzzword. Thank you very much. NFC is a buzzword. NFC is nothing more than the interface between a handset, the mobile phone, and a reader. It's got nothing to do with apps, got nothing to do with provisioning, got nothing to do, to a certain extent, with security. It's only the interface between the handset and the phone. Now, most people call it, we're going to do NFC or something. Actually, what they're saying, we're going to have that mobile phone and we're going to make it possible to make retail payments because of that interface. And like I told you, there's more things you need. You need to have that security in place, and you need to have, let's say, the channel in place to get the application to the mobile phone. And typically, the Gemaltos or the G&Ds of this world can help you really well with it. But I think you're at 11:30 to elaborate on that topic. Let's go one step back, okay? Because this is where it comes a little bit complex. The banks of this world, they're making cards, right? Actually, what happens is that you have a bank, and they have a purchase bureau, and they will get their, let's say, plastic from a card vendor like the G&Ds, like the Gemaltos, and in a secure PCI certified environment, cards are being printed. Okay? Recap, the bank is sending your customer details to a personalization bureau. This personalization bureau has selected plastic and chips and glue and applications, put your name and account number on it, prints a card and send it to your house. You understand where I come from, right? No rocket science in there. Now compare this to the world of mobile payments. Again, I told you, the bank wants to give you a product, a card if you like, but in this case, not printed in a purchase bureau, but put on a mobile phone. And this is where some new, let's say, entities or technologies come into place. Instead of the bank sending it to a purchase bureau, of course they can still do this, but actually what they need is a kind of an engine, let's call it for now a service provider TSM. Regardless of the abbreviation, let's say it's a piece of technology. And instead of then sending it to a printer, they will send it to Etisalat or do Telecom or any mobile network operator. And let's say that they would have a secure element issuer TSM. Sorry for the abbreviation, forget it for now, but let's say the bank is sending that package, your bank card, to the MNO, and the MNO with their network puts it over the air all the way in your phone. You understand what I'm saying? So conceptually, it's the same. It's just new players and new technology. Now the funny thing, and I said it before, that card in the personalization bureau has been selected by that bank or personalization bureau. It's in their control. It's their card, it's their plastic, it's their chip. It's all been certified, okay? How many operating systems do you think they have to deal with? Probably one, maybe two. And now they're sending it to an MNO, and behind the MNO, it has to reside in a handset. You know how many handsets there are out there? Dozens. You know how many operating systems there are? Oh, even more. And actually, it also works with multiple secure elements. It resides in, let's say, what we call wallets. There's also multiple of them. So instead of having this one card completely controlled by the bank or the purchase bureau, we're going to put this payment application in actually the most unsecure device on earth. It's called a phone, with a lot of complexities and diversities. Okay? So this is exactly what's happening. Now, in the vendor industry, also the standardization bodies, what we are doing is making standards. Global Platform is very active in it, in order to, let's say, facilitate this process, to make this all secure. Actually, as we speak, MasterCard is certifying handsets. Okay, imagine MasterCard, payment industry, now certifying handsets. Yes, that's what's happening. That means that you as an issuer, as a bank, can rely on the MasterCards, the Visas, the EMV codes, the global platforms to take care of that, let's say, the procedures, the standards, the interoperability. Okay? But it is a complex environment, much more complex than card issuance today. Now what I'd like to do is elaborate on, suppose you're an issuing bank. and you want to deploy mobile payments. How can you approach this? What do you need to do? And before I explain, let's say high level on how we have done it at various other customers, I can mention a few, like Trafic is an initiative in the Netherlands with 3 mobile network operators and 3 banks who've joined forces to make mobile payments possible in the Netherlands. Actually what they do, they build plumbing, like electricity or water. They build this infrastructure, like a connection from a service provider, all the way down to a secure element. So the MNOs have collectively said, we will put UICCs, that's the abbreviation for, let's say, a new SIM, with that bank-grade security. We'll put that in the field. And they've collectively said, we'll build that TSM I mentioned earlier, that distribution mechanism, if you like. We'll put that in place. So there will be not everyone developing their own infrastructure. It's a collective thing, cost saving, because it doesn't make sense. As a bank, you want to be able to put your payment product in every handset of every user, right? Not only with this MNO, not only with that MNO, or not only with this device or that device. Look at Google, the Google Wallet. I think you've heard of that, right? It's fantastic. But why is it not successful? Ever thought about it? Why don't you have, with all the respect, why don't you have the Google Wallet on your phone? Would you like to have it? Sure. But you can't do this because their setup is not scalable. It only, well, worked with Sprint, now also with AT&T. That means you have to be a Sprint Nextel customer in order to have the Google Wallet. That doesn't make sense. You need to have this specific phone in order to have that Google Wallet. That doesn't make sense. If you're an issuer, your focus should be much wider. Your product should be able to reside at any MNO, at any handset, regardless of the operating system, regardless of the secure element underneath, right? That should be your demand. And that's why, in general, if you look at pilots, and there are pilots all over the world, it's in general a bank, it's in general one mobile network operator, it's, let's say, 1, 2, or 3 types of handsets, and then you test technology and sure it works. But I can tell you, that's not that difficult. Oh, and guess what? Even the applications are already on the UICC when they are issued to a consumer. You see the difference with a real environment, a live environment, where you want to have your application at any time, at any handsets, at any MNO. This is very, very complex. And this is what we do for Trafic. ISIS is, I think, another very nice example. ISIS is a combination of, well, initially 4 mobile network operators, Sprint, Nextel, AT&T, Verizon, and T-Mobile, 4 very large mobile network operators in the US. Sprint Nextel, let's say, pulled out, and now there are 3 mobile network operators, I think, covering 60% of the US market. I would say a substantial initiative. And about 3 years ago, we started with ISIS, in these days called JVL, with designing the infrastructure, the architecture which is needed to facilitate mobile payments. What I just mentioned to you, that a bank, whether it's Amex or Capital One or Bank of America, that if they have a product, they can put it over the networks of, let's say, the 3 operators and put it in that handset. So we started that design, we did the vendor selection. Gemalto here in the room eventually became the provider of that solution. And right now we are 1 month prior to going live. This has been a journey of 2.5 years of, let's say, developing, understanding, making new standards together with global platform, etc. We learned a lot. And why is ISIS so important to you? Because of the size and because of the purchasing power of these 3 MNOs, handset manufacturers start developing NFC phones. It's not only because of this, but I can tell you this was a big driver. And ISIS gained so much knowledge that they had a, let's say, an educated discussion with the handset manufacturers, with the other players in the ecosystem on interoperability and how to make this happen. And now we're here not in the US, but they've developed so much where you can benefit from. I wouldn't say there are already global standards. We've identified 24, let's say, industry bodies involved in this ecosystem. SIM Alliance, ETSI, GCF, EMVCO, MasterCard, Visa, NFC Forum. There's so many institutes saying something about the interoperability of this world that even their standards and specifications are sometimes contradicting. There are gaps, there are overlaps. I'll give you another example. If you have a contactless card, nice use case. I've got a contactless card, but now on my mobile phone. Fair enough. I make a payment transaction of $30. Should I use a PIN or not? Good question, right? I mean, fraud, security, risk, your choice, or isn't it? Well, MasterCard has come up with some guidelines that on a certain, let's say, value, above it, you need to have a PIN. Where are you going to do the PIN, by the way? On the terminal or on the handset? Now, let's say it's the handset, but it's the most unsecure device on earth. How do you solve that? This is where EMVCo comes into place with their AAUI. Sorry, I don't want to get technical. Let's say they've developed new standards in order to make that more secure. Gemalto, G&D, and two more companies have now kind of an initiative, Mobicore, where they try to have even better security in place in order to take care of, among others, the PIN on your device. Now, suppose you have a MasterCard and you would have to use the PIN at a certain value. What does Visa say? Nothing. Is Visa in the room, by the way? Visa is not saying anything about it yet. I think it will come, and maybe they did last week that I didn't pick it up, but it means that there are differences between MasterCard and Visa. That's strange. So for MasterCard, you need to use your PIN at this value, and for Visa, it's unknown. Maybe you have to decide. So it's an example of saying this is a new terrain where ISIS and other initiatives, which are ahead of you, are figuring out how to deal with this. Now, as Collis, we have been involved in this for, let's say, over 5 years. On one hand side, helping the MNOs building the infrastructures. We serve over 500 banks, typically from EMV, migrations, and now also into mobile payments. From our test tool division, we work with pretty much all the handset manufacturers. So we have a good understanding of what's happening, let's say, in the industry. And also very important, we contribute to the global platform, ISO, ETSI, the standards in order to make them suitable for the world of mobile payments. Now let's look at how to implement mobile payments in your company. Okay? What we've done is we've divided this into 4 steps based on experience. It starts with a phase nil. That sounds very strange. But what we have learned is that prior to even starting a project, you may need, let's say, board approval, or at least maybe approval for the approach or for your budget. So typically what we do in a phase nil is to educate you, to tell you what this is all about, to give you an understanding of that ecosystem, because you have to cooperate with other players. There are not many banks who own a mobile network operator. Oh, and guess what? Even that would not be sufficient because of your scope, your scalability. You want to reach the full market. So you have to cooperate with other players, right? You may have business requirements. We can define the project plan. And of course, most important, we can help you with a business case. What we have seen, as people don't completely understand this, it is very difficult to make a business case. And in order to get that approval from your board, you need, I think, best practices. You may need some support in your business case. I mean, let's put it blunt. What is a TSM solution? You need it, right? What does it cost? What we have seen is that pretty much no one knows the answer. Now, if you don't know the answer, how can you make a business case? Right? How much do you have to pay the MNO? Well, you can call them, but they don't know that either. This is a very complex and new environment. So it's not only technology, we can also help you on the business side getting that business case clear. Yes, we have an understanding of what a TSM solution costs. We have done multiple vendor selection, so I'm not sharing the prices or structures, etc. But we can give you, for your business case, a good indication. But again, that's based on your choices. There's no one fit for all, right? Then we have a phase 1 where we typically take care of all the underlying processes, technology, etc., implementation, and then the rollout. Let's look at it. Phase 1, the workshop, where we have, let's say, 2 or 3 week sessions with all the stakeholders in your company. And normally what we advise is that at least at the end of the workshop to get all the players of the ecosystem in there as well. Have that open discussion on the infrastructure with your partners. Maybe not with your business secrets, but definitely try to get into a discussion with the MNOs if you need them and understand what their plans are. You have to rely on them and they rely on you. Turn this around. The MNOs, they need to build this infrastructure, right? That costs money. You are their customer. So they typically want to talk to you as well. I've got to warn you there. The MNOs and the banks, you both come from different planets. It's not nice to say, but the guys on the telecom side, they have a completely different awareness of security. Okay? They have a completely different approach when it comes to these projects. MNOs in general are very agile, they're very fast. And sorry to be maybe disrespectful, but banks in general, security is key. Projects may take slightly longer, if you understand what I mean. It's more thorough. In this combined project, okay, with MNOs and banks, you will face these challenges. It's not going to be easy. So let's say we try to play the wonder oil there. We pretend to understand both worlds. If it comes to the phase one, this is after you get approval of your board or whoever and you move forward in the project. What you're going to do is actually develop applications, build an infrastructure, make sure that security is there, you've got your launch strategy. And then everyone says, we need to buy a TSM system. That's everything. Always I hear, we need to have a TSM system, which is fine, you need it in the end. But what are you buying? Do you know what you need to buy? Do you need your requirements? With all respect, I think not. The TSM comes in multiple flavors. You got full-blown TSMs, you got, let's say, the part which is very similar to data prep or key management or card management type of solutions, where you may not need the OTA component in the TSM. Maybe your MNO doesn't have it already. Will you have a kind of an architecture where you will individually connect with all the MNOs, or is it just one pipe to a kind of a JV in the middle that takes care of all the interfaces backwards to the MNOs like ISIS? So that architecture is important. So what we do is on one hand side define that business architecture, but also look at processes. It's not just a piece of technology or an architecture, it's processes we're talking about. Let me give you another example. In the end of the day, you will have your fantastic app on the mobile phone, right? And suppose Etisalat, let's pick a mobile network operator, they're issuing phones and you have a contract with them. What you can do is on every phone issued by Etisalat in their wallet to have your button there. And if you press the button, it starts an enrollment process. So this handset with the button of your bank may end up, well, will end up in the hands of someone who's not yet your customer. You'd love to have him, right? So your button is there, and that's where the enrollment process starts. You imagine like, oh, you want to become a ABC Bank customer? Yes. You press the button, and at that moment, an enrollment process starts, and 1 minute later, the mobile banking application is there, and you've got yourself a registered new customer. Your back office system, in general, is not capable of doing this. And I can tell you, it costs you a fortune to make that happen. But this is a very competitive space, because if you don't, and your competitors' banks will do this, you may have to do this as well. So initially, the architecture, the choices, the processes, you really have to be very clear on what you want right now or maybe later. You understand what I mean? There's so much to it. From the architecture, from the processes, from, let's say, all the use cases, we got a couple of 100 use cases, let's say, already defined. It's what we call a repository. It's something you can use. With you, we're going through these use cases to see which one are applicable for you, which one you like to have, right? And from that, we can define the requirements regarding, let's say, the TSM, or the UICC, or even security. Marketing is also very important, the launch strategy, okay? Then, of course, you need to develop your application. Maybe you have it now at a Percy bureau, but in the end of the day, you need to create a GUI, an interface. People are, let's say, having a handset and your products, your mobile banking app, if you like, but you can do more features with it, right? You need to develop that. That's your responsibility. And then in the end of the day, you may even want to have your own wallet. Typically what we see is that the mobile network operators, they provide their own wallet. It's got to do with a lot of technology, okay? I mean, you don't want to deal with all the operating systems, with all the bearers and BIPs, let's say the transport mechanisms. You don't want to deal with all the various types of secure elements. The wallet, to a certain extent, can take care of that. But your brand is very important. So you want to have your brand there as well. Okay, create your own wallet. You can do that, okay? You have to make it attractive. People, at the top of wallet effect is now moving towards that wallet. We'll educate you on it, what it's all about, okay? But it means you may or may not want to procure your own wallet. Where do you buy a wallet? Who's offering this? What are the requirements for a wallet? This is typically something where we can help you with as well. The partner management, I mentioned that already briefly. What we have seen, this is an ecosystem. It's not you by yourself developing a fantastic new product. You have to collaborate with partners in this ecosystem. Speak their language, make agreements. Okay? There's a lot of innovation here. Right? It's not like off the shelf, plug it in, and you're good to go. Some people want to go live in 4 to 6 months. Not going to happen. Forget it. Out of the question. Or, well, I haven't seen it yet. Typical implementation time, 12 to 18 months, and even that depends on the complexity of your choices. Okay? Last but not least, a design authority. This is not a project plan which is carved in stone. The changes you will face, they happen every day. You will not reach your goal. It's more like that you have to focus on the journey instead of the goal itself. Okay? Along the way, there will be new standards, there will be new possibilities, there will be new handsets. Okay? So you need to have this design authority who can really overlook the architecture. Then when there's a change on the left, that you can understand the impact on the right. Okay? Because there will be changes, that's what we have seen. And also this is typically something where our expertise comes in. Then, after vendor selection, let's say the Gemaltos or the G&Ds and the wallet providers, they're going to develop whatever you've requested and they're going to implement it. Then typically what you need to do is to accept this, right? You're going to buy something, you need to accept this. Okay, this is something where we can typically help you as well. And guess what? While they're developing, you may come up with new requirements. How do you deal with it? This is also typically where, let's say, we have a pretty good understanding of what the G&Ds and the Belladies and the Gemaltos of this world can deliver. Okay, we know the new functionality, so acceptance for us is, especially with our tooling, TSM, simulators, test tools, relatively easy. I think in the end of the day, this entire ecosystem is all about trust. It's about security, right? As a consumer, I can have a payment product in my mobile phone. I'm not asking for security. It per definition should be there. Now, how do you know it's all secure? How do you know that this network of the MNO is secure? How do you know that this secure element, as they say, is secure? With all respect, in general, it's very difficult for you to even reach a verdict. What we can do in the end, on one hand side, we've made the security policies and also do a security audit. You need to take a really good look at, let's say, the weakest link in the chain. Okay? It is important. In the end of the day, you don't want to get into the newspaper saying you got a fantastic product, but it is unsafe. Because that's when your brand name goes down the drain. Last but not least, the moment you're live, it doesn't stop. Right now, when you issue a card, you can have an agreement with your purse bureau on typical plastic, etc., and you can produce cards for quite a while. New handsets are coming out every day. Second, you need to have that top of wallet effect, and that fight is going to be in the wallet on the handset. So it remains a very dynamic environment. So the moment you start with mobile payments, okay, it doesn't stop. It's going to be there all the time. But typically what we do as Collis is also make this what we call this mobile test center. Because there are so many components that all regionally or globally, we have a mobile test center where we can put in all the applications, the handset, the secure elements, the connections, where we can test and in some cases even certify everything that has been put in that ecosystem in order to ensure interoperability and security. I know I've said a lot. There's a few things I'd like to say about Collis. Since the 1st of April, we've been acquired by UL, Underwriters Laboratories, here in the room as well. So now we're part of UL. It's a 9,000 people company, $1 billion, originally based in the US, 115 years old. And in this, let's say, environment of UL, where they take care of product safety, your airbag, your handset, so it doesn't explode in your face, right? That's UL. What we do within UL is not make the world a safer place, we try to make the world a more secure place, right? We do that these days with, actually it's more than 170, but around 200 quite knowledgeable people from 8 offices around the globe. And it's not only mobile or payment we look at, it's also public transport. Like right here in Dubai, for the last 3-4 years, we've been the test authority for RTA, the Roads and Transport Agency. So if you step in the metro and you use the NOL card, we do our utmost best to make sure that that NOL card works in public transport. This is typically the offering of Collis. Thank you very much.